Hello everyone, my name is Utkumar Top and my department is Industrial Engineering in Bilkent University. And this video is about from Physics 101 lesson, comparing the coefficients of kinetic and static friction forces. In this experiment, we will compare the static and kinetic friction forces acting on a block placed on a horizontal surface. Using a spring scale, we will measure the force required to start the motion and force that is required to keep the block moving at a constant speed, so we can calculate the coefficients of static and kinetic friction forces. The digital scale is used to measure the mass of the object with high precision. The wooden horizontal surface provides a smooth and consistent platform on which the object moves. This is a wooden block that we will use in this experiment as a mass. And our last equipment is a spring scale that will measure the friction forces. These equipments are required for my project, and now we can begin the project. Now, I will slowly increase the pulling force on the block, and I will measure the value just before it starts to move. The value shown on the spring scale gives us the static friction force. We calculated the coefficient of static friction based on the value shown on the spring scale, and we found it to be 0.38. And now, to determine the kinetic friction force, I am pulling the block at a constant speed to make sure it doesn't accelerate. And then, with the same calculations as a static friction force, we found the coefficients of kinetic friction force is 0.25. To obtain more accurate results, I repeated the trials of coefficients of static friction force shown in the video 5 times, and the measured values are as follows. And these are the values of the coefficient of kinetic friction force. As a result of this experiment, the coefficient of static friction was found to be approximately 0.38, while the coefficient of kinetic friction was 0.26. Therefore, we have demonstrated that the static friction coefficient is greater than the kinetic friction coefficient. And the possible error percentages are occurred because of spring scale values were not completely stable while pulling, and the surface was not uniformly smooth along the whole path. Thank you for listening.